Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to St Mary's Vicarage in Sixpenny Handley. It's lovely to be with you this morning on what is an absolutely glorious morning here in Dorset. I was up bright and early this morning before the sun was coming up, or just as it was starting to creep up, and uh, I could just see that the light was absolutely stunning as it was sort of coming up over the chase and just beginning to catch the tops of the trees and the hills and such like. I have to say I was very, very tempted this morning to, and something I would normally do, which is just to chuck my clothes on, grab my camera bag, which is ever at the ready, it has to be said, and jump in the car and just get out into this beautiful countryside to get some photos and photographies. But I resisted the temptation, I have to say. But the light is beautiful. Anyhow, I have to do my weekly trip to one of our glorious supermarkets, either Blandford or down towards Verwood Way. So I shall have camera with me, and I might get a couple of shots on the way. But it is absolutely beautiful, and the light is absolutely stunning. Stunning this morning. So there we go. Anyhow, so where are we? Here we are. It's Friday again. We're still in lockdown. I sort of look forward to Fridays. It's been interesting in lockdown, and I think and I remember talking to Bill Chorley about this in the first lockdown, and I think one of the secrets of sort of lockdown and everything is to have a bit of rhythm to life. I mentioned yesterday about people have now decided, apart from wearing pajamas for their office meetings, they're now not even getting out of bed. There's nothing wrong with a lie-in, it has to be said, or even a siesta, as half Spanish. But I think there is something about some rhythm in life, getting up, getting dressed, and doing various things that sort of just helps keep that, and in a sense not only a daily rhythm but a weekly rhythm. So I'm looking forward to Friday here. I mean, normally in normal times, Friday evening, 6 o'clock or maybe a little before, many of us would be heading down to our fabulous watering hole, the Tap, for a nice drink of local cider or local ales and a good old chin wag with what's been going on in the week and such like. But unfortunately that's not possible at the moment, but it will happen again soon, brothers and sisters. I'm confident that as we get into the summer, we'll be able to sit out on that cricket pitch and suck the local ale and cider, and we will be able to converse again. But anyhow, as I say, I think that punctuation, so Friday is great because Friday for me is Martini day. So I don't drink during the week, but I will be mixing my one of my Martini recipes this evening, which I will nearly said this afternoon. Then what are they going to think of the vicar? No, this evening, and Mrs. Vicarage will have one of her sort of flavoured G&Ts, I imagine. And we're going to, have a bit of family time. What we are going to be watching this evening is the new sort of drama, It's a Sin, which of course is set in the 80s. Written by, oh gosh, his name's completely gone out of my head. He sort of Russell T Davies, who sort of brought back Doctor Who, and It's a Sin is set in the 1980s at the beginning of the AIDS crisis or AIDS epidemic, and it's a time I remember well because I was a late teenager, young man in my 20s. I was at art college at the time, studying photography, and it was a really big thing, and it was very, very scary. And there's lots of really good stuff I remember about the 80s. The music, the dressing up, getting away with wearing makeup at art college and all of that sort of thing. But I do remember that my friends and I were very aware of this whole thing with HIV, and were were very, very concerned about it. I have to say, it did change. It did change the way that we lived as youngsters and teenagers, and it was very interesting. And I knew some people that were affected by this terrible disease and such like. So it's going to be interesting to watch that this evening. Looking forward to that. Russell T Davies is a brilliant writer and producer, so we're going to be doing that. Anyhow, so as I say, Friday is here again. Now this Sunday, I've just sent the sheets to Mike. We're going to use the Iona Celtic Morning Liturgy that we've used before online. I've got some nice hymns. The Gospel reading, I think, is one of my favourite miracles, or no, has to be my favourite miracle of Jesus, which is the wedding feast at Cana. So we've got that as our Gospel reading this Sunday. So I'm looking forward to speaking about that. So that's 10 o'clock, normal, just Facebook broadcast. We're not doing Zoom this week. Facebook broadcast, and using the Iron of Worship, and we've got some good hymns as well. So I hope you'll be able to to join me with that. Bill's just put a message there. Well, I think probably up to date, Bill, the AIDS virus or AIDS disease has probably caused more deaths, certainly worldwide. But it was it's good. Moving on to COVID. Which you can't really avoid, despite the beauty that we see outside, which is lifting one's soul. So you may have seen I posted on Facebook this morning, both on my personal page and the church page, some of the updated statistics. These come from the government, official government website. You put your postcode in, gives you drills down to a bit more the statistics locally. So that, as I said on the website, Facebook, if you haven't seen, there is some good news. So the number of cases for our postcode area, which covers really Sixpenny Handley over to Alderholt, has reduced by about 10% over the past week. I think these figures are up to date till the 21st of January, which was yesterday. So there has been a reduction in cases, which is excellent news, because that means the lockdown is starting to take effect. However, as I'm sure you're very, very aware, that the reduction in cases doesn't result instantly in a reduction of deaths, and that is still rising, which is very, very worrying, very frightening. And you may have seen on the local news last night the report from Bournemouth Hospital. So all of our hospitals, Salisbury Pool and Bournemouth, I know Salisbury's in Wiltshire, but it's obviously one of our hospitals. They have got unprecedented rises in hospital admissions as a result of COVID and unprecedented death rates. I put a little bit of a screenshot there of an article from, I think it was the Dorset Echo, or 500 new admissions to Dorset hospitals this week. It is very, very sad, and these are all people that are, family members and friends and everything like that. But unfortunately, it just shows that letting go a bit at Christmas and gathering together and ignoring the guideline, the scientific advice and the guidelines, unfortunately, and very, very sadly, we are reaping what we have sown. So it's, if you listen to these consultants and these doctors and nurses, I have friends who are in the medical profession, the pressure they are under is enormous, and we really, really must take heed. It's very easy on a beautiful morning like this, with this glorious sunshine and light, and sitting here in rural Dorset thinking, we are safe. We are safer. There is no doubt about that. But if we mix together, and if we go round other people's houses, if we socialise in that sense, then unfortunately the consequences can be very, very severe, either to us personally or to other friends and family. So please, do spread the word. I know everybody who is on here live with me this morning has been very, very sensible, but I know that you also broadcast on Facebook and things like that. So please do make sure family and friends are heeding this. But it does show that, you know, we will get through this, because it'll probably take 2 or 3 weeks before we see the fatality start to drop. But unfortunately, you know, the prediction is they are going to still go up, because people who have, you know, new cases being infected now, that's going to take a bit of time to work through the system. So just be aware of that. Now, you might have also seen on the news, I forgot to get it down this morning, but there was a good tip on the news, and I'd already picked this up and was going to share it with you, about having one of these portable pulse and oxygen monitors. So a wonderful clergy friend of mine, who is a vicar up near Reading, very fit individual, he does long distance running and such like, and unfortunately he caught this virus. You know, he's a young man, he's younger than I am, and it was very, very serious for him. Thankfully he wasn't hospitalized in the end, but what his experience was, which is similar to lots of people, is that they feel a bit unwell to begin with. I mean, if you've got mild symptoms, it's just mild, but you feel a bit unwell, it feels like flu or a bit of onset, and it sort of stays like that, and you sort of think you're okay, but then it suddenly drops off a cliff and you get very, very poorly very, very quickly. And that is what he experienced. But because he was a runner and did all this physical exercise, he had one of these oxygenate monitors. If you've ever been in hospital or whatever, or down the surgery, you know, it's the thing they put on your finger. It shines a laser or something through your finger, and through modern tech it's able to monitor your pulse and also the oxygen levels in your blood. And he said that really was a lifesaver for him, because he felt very poorly, but he was able to use this to monitor his oxygen levels. And when he started to see a drop off on it, he was able to phone 911 and to then talk to the doctors, and they were then able to deal with his situation very, very quickly. So after talking to him last week, I bought one of these. It was 20 quid online. It's very accurate. It's very simple to use, and you know, it's been important. And I think this is something I'll share with you. Do share with others. You can get these, and because, as I say, there's this big drop off, and what happens with a lot of people is they sort of feel unwell, and then they start to feel a bit more poorly, but they think, oh, well, they'll just sort of ride it through. But that is the point. You have to speak to your doctor, dial 999. You have to get help, because the deterioration can be very, very quick. But these little finger monitor things, they can help just chart what your oxygen levels are. Because even if you feel rotten, providing your oxygen level is where it should be, on the thing, which I think is above 96% or something like that, you're fine. Once it drops down below 92, I think they said last night, then you should get some help. So just a little bit of advice there, a useful thing to get, and they're very cheap. We paid £20 for ours. So there we go. COVID is still with us, so do be careful, brothers and sisters. And as a result, as I say, we're not going to be holding public worship until I know that most of my lovely flock have had the jab, and I know several of you now have all lined up and have all had the jab, which is excellent. It takes a couple of weeks to have effect. I heard my dad has had his jab yesterday, which is great. So we're going to let all of that kick in, and we're going to let these figures drop, and we're going to be nice and safe, and then we will get back together and we will celebrate. So there we go. Anyhow, let's turn to lovely Margaret. I had a chat with Margaret on the phone yesterday. She was absolutely thrilled that I was reading out some of her poems, and I've chosen 2 this morning because picking up on the theme yesterday about the poem was really about a grandfather with his grandson sort of going up a hill. And we had a fabulous family walk yesterday afternoon. We walked from Tollard, you know, the little lake, the pond there at Tollard. You can park at Tollard, and it's a lovely walk. Many of you have probably done it. You can walk all the way up to, Wind Green, and then you sort of come round. However, make sure you go the right way round, We went the wrong way round by accident, but it actually saved us because I sort of had looked at the map, and we sort of went the way that thankfully is a very gentle ascent. It's a constant ascent, but it's a pretty gentle ascent all the way up to Wyn Green, and that was simply because I just got my bearing wrong, because we were going to go round the other way, round the valley and then up. But if you go round the valley and then up, you are in for an incredibly steep climb up to Wyn Green. So we were pleased we did it round the other way. But a very, very beautiful and quite a lovely walk, and good to get some exercise yesterday. Anyhow, so those themes of grandparents, two I want to share with you here is, one is called Nana's Morning. Again, a sort of theme about grandparents with their grandchildren, something I know many of you will be looking forward to, and I'll be looking forward to seeing my parents and again. And then the other one is talking about a place in Cornwall, Pencarron Head in Cornwall, and it also made me think about hopefully being able to get away again and get out and about. So Nana's Morning, first of all. While other adults are fast asleep, downstairs with the boys I creep. On going dressing gowns, slippers and socks, and out comes the magic do-it-all box. There are pencils and crayons, stencils and glue, a box full of treasures and nice things to do. A new pile of paper and mats on the table. The boys now are ready, willing and able. One had for a biscuit, the other for a drink. Serious faces all trying to think. What shall I draw now? What shall I write? Slowly they settle, a wonderful sight. 3 blonde heads bent and such happy sighs. They're drawing kites in bright summer skies, and smiling I watch such industry, sipping my early morning tea. Just a wonderful scene there of, and it brings back memories of me as a child with my own grandparents. I was very lucky that my grandparents did literally live, well, I said the end of the road, at the end of a field. I used to cross a field to get to them because the village I lived in was very rural, well, quite rural at the time. It's now been engulfed by slough, sadly. And I used to spend a lot of time up at my grandparents and things like that. So it brings back those memories. And Margaret gave me this book very kindly because she'd been going through lots of her old slide photographs that she had found, you know, the old sort of Kodachrome 35mm slide. So because I've got the equipment here, I said, well, look, if you've got a few slides you'd like me to scan and print out for you so you can see them better, let me have them. And actually one of the slides she asked me to print out was of her 3 grandchildren, the 3 boys that I think she's mentioning in the poem here, playing in the garden. Anyhow, let's move on to Pencarron Head, Cornwall. A little bit of heaven, 5 miles or so, no more, where heath and gorse and bracken reach down to hug the shore. A rock-strewn, carving coastline, with paths of shale and scree, fringed by a lace of foaming water as far as the eye can see. Undulating pathway, exciting to tread, as it twists and turns and teases for new visits just ahead. Pencarron Head has charmed me for some 20 years or more, with gentle lappings on the shoreline, the ocean's thundering roar. Now sailboats from Fowey fill the bay like butterflies, sun glittering on the water, white clouds and clear blue skies. Llanlachas church stands sentinel. It folds the autumn gold, and the path waves at Pencarron are most beautiful to behold. Wonderful poem. And I have a great love of Cornwall, Devon and Cornwall as well. I spent my teenage years in North Devon. So it's a place I love greatly. And I was lucky enough to escape back in October half term for my Franciscan retreat. And I got to spend a few days on Dartmoor, which was stunning. And I'm hoping that it won't be too long before we can do that again. Anyhow, moving on, folks. I haven't given you a saint for quite some time, but I've got a saint for you this morning. It's Saint Vincent of Saragossa, deacon and first martyr of Spain. So being half Spanish, I think he has to get a mention. So first martyr of Spain. So Vincent was born in Saragossa in Aragon in the latter part of the 3rd century and was ordained to the diaconate by Valerian, his bishop in the city. When the Dulcian persecutions began, both men were brought before the Roman governor, but because Valerian stammered badly, he relied on Vincent to speak for them. Vincent spoke eloquently for both his bishop and his church, proclaiming the good news of Jesus Christ and condemning paganism. He so angered the governor that he was immediately commended to a painful death, reputedly on the gridiron. Thus he lived and gave his life in the tradition of Stephen, the first martyr and also a deacon. He died in the year 304, and his feast has been celebrated on this day since the persecutions ended in 312. So that's Vincent of Saragossa. And I feel for my Spanish brothers and sisters, because the Spaniards don't need any excuse to have a party. And the first martyr of Spain, they would be lots of partying today. But like us, Spain is in lockdown, even more severe, I believe, in places. They actually have curfews in place and such like. So that's Vincent of Saragossa. Well, finally, folks, today let's move to our Bible reading. We're continuing to read from the letter to the Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 8, 6 to 13. We have seen that Jesus, being given a ministry of a far higher order, and to the same degree is a better covenant of which he is mediator, founded on better promises. If the first covenant had been without fault, there would have been no need for a second one to replace it. And in fact, God does not find fault with them. He says, "See, the days are coming. It is the Lord who speaks, when I will establish a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, but not a covenant like the one I made with their ancestors on the day I took them by hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. They abandoned that covenant of mine, and so on my side deserted them. It is the Lord who speaks. No, this is the covenant I will make with the house of Israel. When those days arrive, it is the Lord who speaks. I will put my law into their minds and write it on their hearts. Then I will be their God, and they shall be my people. There will be no further need for neighbour to try to teach neighbour, or brother to say to brother, learn to know the Lord. No, they will all know me, and least, not least, than the greatest. Since I will forgive their iniquities and never call their sins to mind." By speaking of the new covenant, he implies that the first one is already old. Now anything old only gets more antiquated until in the end it disappears. So it's a wonderful reading there. And the real key to this bit is this piece here. It says, there will be no further need for neighbour to try to teach neighbour, or brother to say to brother, learn to know the Lord. No, they will all know me, the least no less than the greatest. And of course, in a sense, what it's talking about in the new covenant is the fact, of course, this is Jesus who is incarnate, and that God is with us, Emmanuel, that Jesus dwells with us. So rather than what was happening before with Abraham and Moses, in a sense where you had the sort of prophets as sort of go-betweens between God and humanity, God and man, through Jesus, we're invited to have this personal one-to-one relationship with the living God. There's no need to have prophets or people like that go-betweens, because we can have that living relationship with God through Jesus Christ. So lovely reading. Anyhow, folks, let's finish with the grace. I hope you have a wonderful day in whatever you're doing, and do keep safe. Things are, we are moving forward. Lots more people are having the vaccine. Please stay positive, but do stay safe. We are not out of the woods yet, but I hope you have a good day and you enjoy this glorious sunshine that we've got at the moment, and as we move into the weekend. God willing, I will be with you tomorrow. Do keep your eye on the Facebook page. Apologies, I couldn't be with you tomorrow. yesterday I had a rural field officer meeting. We're going to be recording good news stories of projects and things that have been happening in church. And Matt Levison, who you may remember, he was a curate who spent a summer with us 2 years ago when I first arrived. He's been doing quite a bit of work on this, and we were on a training session yesterday learning how to record and edit interviews of people. But that was the only time we could get together. I may have a meeting tomorrow, but I'm just waiting to see. But if not, I will see you all tomorrow at 10, and then hopefully see you on Sunday. But let's close with the grace. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, and the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all evermore. Amen. Do take care, folks. God bless.